Hi, welcome to another episode of Basement Bible Breakdown. My name is Stephen Whitsitt. Glad to be here with you this morning. And today we're going to be talking about the second coming, specifically dealing with the word of Epiphaneia that Paul used in the New Testament concerning his appearing and that specific word and how it's used and things like that. But first of all, I want to respond a little bit to people who aren't familiar with preterism and what's going on. And the majority of preterism, which of course is the belief that all things are fulfilled, that Jesus returned in 70 AD, that all prophecy is completely fulfilled, there's nothing more. The new heavens and earth are here, the judgment has happened, all of those things are all completed, and so the Bible never talks about anything after AD 70. There's no future promises or fulfillment of anything. Basically, we live on our lives here, either as Christians, and then when you die, you go to heaven, you get a new body, you live in heaven forever. But they can't tell you anything that happens after that. But then, of course, if you're not a Christian, you never were saved or anything like that, then when you die, you go straight to hell or get annihilated or something like that. There's no further judgment. You've already been judged, whether you're saved or not. So it doesn't matter, really. You can live like hell all you want to because it's already been determined. And that's where the universalism comes in for some of them, and that's why they believe that. Now, I actively engaged in Predators website pages and everything else because my goal was to learn what they believed and why they believed it, how they came up with their belief systems. And in the process here, what really has come out, though, from day one, and this was basically about 4 years ago, is that there are a lot of these gentlemen that are on there that young, inexperienced, uneducated, and I don't even think most of them even are saved in a sense because the profanity and the things that comes out when they get upset with you, the name calling and things like this. It's just, even like recently in this post here that I'm dealing with, I might read a couple of the responses of these guys, but I had put up a post and I had asked for the meaning of the word Epiphaneia, and I asked people just to list the 6 verses that it's used in, and I pasted this on several different pages and asked for a response from people. And in my op, I said, please, no commentary, no instructions of what it is. Just do me the favor. Just give me the meaning of the word from the Strongs or whatever. Give me the 6 verses. Don't give me anything else. Don't do anything else for me. That's all I'm asking for on this page. That's it. So when I did it, one of the pages of mine is Middleism. I got to slow down here, I guess. Middleism Preterist written debate. 10 people saw it, but not one person answered. In the PretNet group, I got 1 comment and not 1 answer from a pool of 304 members. In the webpage, Facebook, all Bible prophecy fulfilled. Of 94 people, only 1 person answered, and he did it correctly, which is Jim Ballard. Give him a cookie. On the coming out of preterism page, of the 75 members, I got 2 responses from Lance Connolly and Jack Royce. Lance provided the 6 verses, but added his commentary with no definition. Jack Royce did nothing but offer me insults. Now, on the Predators perspective discussion and debate, there are 7 people responded out of 809 members. Now, I interacted briefly with Robert on 1 Timothy 6:14, and he said he noticed that there's a paradox there. And the question was, how can he appear, but yet it also says in the same verse that no one has seen him. And I posted a online Bible source link to look up those words which give meaning and usage and verses it's used in. But still, Robert did not give me the meaning, but he posted the usage of the word. Eventually, he did use the 6 verses, and even though nobody else did, I never asked him for the commentary, but I still responded to it. But in that verse, 1 Timothy 6:14, the paradox is it's talking about until he comes, he will. When he comes, he appears. That's a future tense. And then he goes back into the present tense when Paul was writing that and said he lives and he dwells in unapproachable light, and which is talking about heaven. No one has seen him. Nobody has seen him while he's in heaven. Nobody's been up to heaven, come back down, and said, "Hey, I saw God up there." Nothing like that has ever happened. The closest we can come to it, of course, is Stephen when he was stoned and looked into heaven, and the heavens opened, and he saw Jesus standing at the right hand. But nobody has actually gone into heaven and seen him and come back. And so there's this present tense and a future tense in there, and he couldn't combine it. He just saw it as a contradiction, offered his commentary on why that, and couldn't offer much else from that. It's not confusion, it just means he just doesn't understand. And then I got this from Joel Sexton. He made a comment. Now in the post I put up a picture of my diploma, and I did it for this reason. Mark Rowans in a post said, commenting towards me, he doesn't have any degrees, just a useless idiot. So I post the picture as proof of the degree that I do have and that I was not lying about it. Then secondly, Stephen Drake added, congratulations, Stephen Whitson, for getting his doctorate in divinity. So again, the picture proves it was not a doctorate, but a master's degree. That was the whole point. So Joel wants to chastise me for trying to think more highly of myself, and that I'm bragging and boasting, and it had nothing to do with that. Some people are making some stupid comments, and I just posted the evidence. In fact, he said, if you have a THM, I have 3 with 2 PhDs, which it was meant to be an insult, of course. Is that he's saying, if I think I'm intelligent with my degree here, well, then he's so much smarter than me. He has 3 of them and 2 PhDs. That's how much smarter he thinks he is than me. And that's the comment. And am I the one that was trying to brag? No. But these are the common things that you get from preterists. Now, so the comments made were deliberate attempts of mocking and misinformation. And that's what they do in dialogue. When they cannot defeat what you are saying exegetically, they will make all the comments and call the names and say all kinds of things. Now, Jack Royce is one of these guys who says a lot of things, but he is Seventh-day Adventist, and he rebuked me for posting or boasting about my posting, which shows he didn't read the op carefully or understand why he posted the picture either. But then I don't respond much to him because he is an SDA, which is Seventh-day Adventist, and their theology has been proven to be inconsistent, to say the least. So far off in the left field, it's not even funny. So I don't even deal with this faulty ideology or anything else to do with it. You just can't refute it. You can go back to certain points, but they just do not hear. And it's the same thing with preterists. And that was my whole point of putting this post up in there, is to prove this inability to think, to read, to comment. And so what I proved was that preterists who see all futures as enemies, that can't even respectfully dialogue without resorting to personal insults. They just can't do it, especially when they start to lose the argument. They also demonstrated inability to even understand and comprehend the simple opt, let alone answer it correctly. I mean, I didn't ask for anything else but the meaning of the word and the 6 verses, and then I was going to go on. But I couldn't get that from anybody, but the one person. So it proves to me they don't know how to do exegesis. And if they can't understand the steps in doing exegesis, which is understanding a word and how it's used in that culture, and if they don't know how to do the research, how they don't even know how to look things up, what they basically do is make things up. So that's all I requested, is go to some source. I even posted BibleHub.com that has all this information. An easy way to scroll around and find the meaning of words and from Strong's and Thayer's lexicon and different things like that. They make it really, really easy. So I use that as a reference for people. It's not like I don't know what the word already means or anything like that. So I'm trying to get to a point here that exegesis always starts with understanding the meaning of words. If you don't understand the meaning of a word, then you can't build on that. That's the first step, understanding what a word means. Now, I don't get to define the words. Michael Erickson, Robert, Joel, nobody gets to define that unless you have a degree in Greek. I just don't see that you're qualified to do that. I don't know where that comes. I don't let somebody do heart surgery, who is not qualified, never stepped foot into doctorate school and has any kind of degree in being a doctor, I'm not going to let them do it. And the same thing goes true. You can't sit there and tell me what is right and wrong about the Greek experts when you have no idea about the language yourself. To me, that's absolutely foolishness. So Robert Stetzer says, Stephen, I don't need a degree in Greek to understand the Word of God. Well, here's the problem with that statement. As I mentioned before, it was people with degrees that are looking at the Greek and translating those things into English. If you do not know the Greek, then you're stuck with translations. So without learning the language, people have to rely on those things. And of course, preterists, they just wing it. They create their own interpretations. They string verses together that have nothing to do with it because the context in which the word is being used is completely different than another one. But they don't look at those things in the Greek. All they see is a common word that they think is in this verse, therefore it must mean the same thing. And they won't get that through their head. But then even more bizarre is like in King James Version, in Matthew 24:3, they will all argue and say, it's not the end of the world. That's not what he was saying. And every preterist will sit there and tell you that's a wrong translation. Why? Because they know that the Greek word is more accurately translated as age, as some versions do that. But the mistake of many preterists is to argue from a translation in many other passages instead of Greek meaning of the word. Now, these are my notes that I'm putting up here. I will post them on my WordPerfect page and have them also underneath there so that you can look at it. These are my notes that I've written. I'm not reading off of somebody else or reading somebody else's paper. This is all my own work. So with the first step in exegesis is learning the meaning of the words from the Greek and not the English. So I'll post this video up on YouTube, but in my WordPress, I'll put the link. You can go to my WordPress and see these notes in there. So in the notes, I have the Strong's listed meaning from 215. It's used as a noun. A noun is a subject, a person, place, or a thing. It is not an event. It's not a verb. It's nothing else like that. It's being used as an event. Excuse me. Epiphaneia, the Epiphaneia, and I go to explain what that is. So it's used in 6 verses, and it basically means unfitting what it is to show forth, to appear, a fitting manifestation, and of course we get the word epiphany from that. Go on to the notes here. It occurs 6 times. It's used once of his first coming. And then the ancient Near East, of course, they saw the word as an appearing or appearance. It's often used by the Greeks as a glorious manifestation of the gods, and especially of their advent to help is what it says in there. And this is the idea of Greek mythology of where you see the movies where they read where Hercules has sex with a woman and they have a kid, or they come down and visit, and it's a manifestation of a god. They show up and people see them and understand, hey, this is a god. So that's where this word comes from. Now, when it goes to the Roman usage and how they used it, the Caesars, they went and borrowed the word and said, well, you know, it's a manifestation of a god on earth. Well, when he ascended the throne, he became God, and it was the emperor worship. You would declare in your greetings, you know, Caesar's is Lord, you know, like Hail Hitler. In Roman days, it was Jesus, or excuse me, it was Caesar is Lord. And it was Paul who changed it and said, no, no, no. Caesar is not Lord, it's Jesus is Lord. And so that's where that comes from. And it is used in the Old Testament, in Second Maccabees, a couple places, and in other places, like in Esther, Amos, and the others. And it talks about and speaks about the appearing of powerful acts that were wrought by God in people's lives. Meaning they saw things happen in their lives that could not be explained by natural circumstances. And so it is accredited to God that did that. So these are his mighty acts and him showing up and to do them. Now, of course, when we get to the New Testament, first of all, it's used in Timothy 1:10, and it talks about the advent of Christ, his first coming. So the word is talked about Christ first appearing. Then later on, with Paul in the other verses, it also then refers to Christ himself, and his coming, he will appear. Now, those phrases in those 6 verses are, by the appearing of his coming, until the appearing of the Lord, by the appearing of the Savior and by his appearing, that love his appearing. All of these things are talking about the event of Christ's second coming, the showing forth, the appearing, being seen, is exactly what it's expressing. Nothing else. It's not talking about a bodily showing up or anything else. It simply is talking about that he will manifest, be made visible. It's a glorious display of his coming. So imagine that when Christ does, and I think I've talked about this before on the other videos, when Christ comes, he comes and destroys the beast. The dead are raised, those who are alive are changed, and both groups meet him in the air. And what more of a powerful thing can you imagine will happen with the whole world witnessing when every eye sees that he appears? Awesome. So my question was on that was, please explain, and you'll look at the notes and tell me why this is not the first step in exegesis. And so I posted this, and here's the response I get back. Michael Erickson, he pretty much doesn't count. He disagrees with everybody under the sun, and he thinks he's God, and he's the only one that knows everything. And I'm not trying to be mean, but those are his comments to me, that he knows better than all of us, and he's got it all figured out. The other person was Grant Storms, and this is his reply. After I did the exegesis and all that, whatever. When Jesus said 3 times in Revelations 22, behold, I come quickly, and you say he didn't, your exegesis, whatever the hell you want, my Bible tells me emphatically and unequivocally that Jesus came back quickly. Do you see the thinking there? I am talking about Christ appearing when he comes. And he quickly defends and says that he's coming. He has to come soon. Therefore, everybody knows he never appeared in 70 AD. There was no visible appearance of Jesus. So therefore, they have to defend that timing and coming. If he says he's coming, then he must not have appeared. And so the Bible never talks about his appearing. But see, Grant dismisses that. And he said, whatever. And see, that's the wrong attitude to approach your study of the Bible. And you're going to sit there and tell me you have a better way of understanding scriptures when you sit there and say, whatever, those scriptures don't count. I don't care what they say. He came invisibly, that's all there is to it, and everything else. Well, to me, that's as dishonored as the day is long. And that's exactly the problem with preterists. Let me see if he made another comment. No, okay. Michael makes some of his false comments and everything else. And I turned off the comments. Okay, Michael Erickson, let's see the 44 replies that he put in here. He tries to bring up a couple things, but then starts using his cussing. He thinks that somehow or another in my system that by me seeing him physically claiming that there has to be a physical temple built and physical building, then that means there has to be physical sacrifices, and therefore Christ's death and the resurrection was no good if we have to go back to the Old Testament Mosaic law. But that's all based on misinformation under his side. But he, that's why they answered him both. Faye and I both are sitting there answering. He comes with, F you both. I'm done here. You blaspheme, can't repent. You don't even give it S. Spoken like a true demon. Please block us, right? What else did he say? Oh, yeah, I am. You effing dip S. Are so GD clueless. Yes, folks, he used the word GD. He used God's name in vain, straight out of 10 Commandments. Said it. You lose your S over bad words while opening and blaspheming the very being who made you. F you both. I hope you do rot in the hell you imagine exists. See, he denies hell. I wondered how somebody could be so effing stupid as to end up in the lake of fire, and it all makes sense now. It happens, being a total effing dip S and mocking God. I wash my hands of you. And this is the common kind of language that you get from Michael Erickson and probably a few other people. But you see, that's the whole problem with the preterist movement. Most of these people are not saved. It's all intellectual. There's no change of heart. There is no exhibition in their hearts. There's no love for other people. There's no gentleness, kindness. There's no works in fruit of the Spirit. They can claim to have the Spirit all they day long too, but if it's not producing good works within their heart, then it's just simply a lie. And Stephen Drake and the others, they're really doing the same thing. They just are not understanding, so therefore they do what they do. So enough with that. Yeah, but the idea, though, just getting back to and just closing this, 20 minutes long here, a little bit longer than I like, is that the word Epiphaneia demands, and the way it's used, first of all, and understood that Christ will appear when he comes. It will be an appearing. It's an event. He will be made manifest and be seen. Where do we get the idea of the bodily return and all those things? That will be discussed in another video. So I would just leave it at that. But it demands, each scripture demands that we harmonize it with other scriptures and come to understand. And that's the failure of preterism. They're not able to do that. All right, so thanks for listening. Sorry about having to go on preterism and expose you to some of the stuff when we should be really dealing with more of the others. But this is an apologetic towards that and against that. But thank you for listening. I hope you'll subscribe and pass it on. And I'm hoping to get other people to start talking about preterism and why it's so bad, as a warning to the churches against something so evil. And by the way, I did finish up with my my master thesis, and it covers a lot of this subject. It'll be published here in a couple of months, getting it through the ProQuest system and all that, and getting it out there. And then I'll be able to make it public to everybody else. And working on my book at the same time, and hopefully we'll be able to get that out as well. So thank you for watching. Hope you're learning something from this, and appreciate any kind of comments to let me know if you have any questions. I've been getting questions here, and hopefully I've been able to answer them. But if you look at my YouTube, you'll also see I've gotten a lot of negative comments from preterists, and you can see their spirit and their attitude. It's not one of learning. It's an indoctrination. I'm right. We have it all. You guys, futurists, anybody who's a dispensation and all, this is all wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. You're all idiots. You have no understanding. And who cares if you have an education? You're just as dumb as everybody else. And that's the spirit that's coming across. And I'm sorry, that is the spirit of Antichrist. So, again, I'll close with that. Sorry for being so long. You guys have a good night.